Good afternoon, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day. Enjoying life, living life, loving life. I want to talk to everybody today about construction. People that are wanting to fill out or submit documentation to the courts in an effort to try to dissuade them through whatever means. And the basics of it come down that, as far as I can tell, most people have a hard time constructing their documents. And when we use things such as this is Hans P. Goof Concise English Handbook. And there's going to be a section in each one of these handbooks. Practice prose forms. Practical prose forms. In other words, it's the form that you're going to pose to practice. In any relation with these courts, businesses, contractors, any realm, there's some kind of literary construction going on in accordance to the words that you're putting on paper. In this particular section, it talks about summaries, letters, and essay examinations. In that, it gives a quick reference for summaries, and a quick reference for letters, and a quick reference for the essays. But in the letters, which is basically what the courts are doing, they're issuing letters that have words on them that say orders and demands and warrants and this and that. And basically, what it comes down to is those letters have format and style, the request, there's the letter of application, the follow-up letter, and a letter of refusal. This is what I use in constructing my documents. Now, in regards to helping other people with their court cases, a lot of times the court cases involve several documents or several different areas that you need to include in that particular document to the court. What I'm going to do here, and I'm hoping everybody can read this, the very basics. Let me blow this up. Okay. The very basics is learning to communicate in a manner that is structured and will defeat their accusation. Their accusation. And we're going to show you this here in a minute when I get done explaining all of this. This is explained in such books as what I just showed you, the Hans P. Goof Concise English Handbook. They will teach you how to do this if you just take the time to research it and read it. They explain the word structures, sentence structures, paragraph structures, and various ways of structuring that material into a form depending upon the need or venue or both. So like I said, it depends on where you're at. If you're at a bank trying to fill out a promissory note or a loan document, you have to know what the construction is. What are all the details? Same with it if you're getting a contractor to give you a estimate on a remodeling or something. You need to know the construction of the contract. In almost all instances, you're going to have some kind of title, contents, or table of contents, and then the contents, and then a closing. Those are the four basic elements. In regards to, say, a traffic ticket, The officer gave you tickets for blah, blah, blah. That's his summary of the events. Okay? You're going to give a notice of acceptance and exception of some sort. You don't have to title it like this, but this is the way it's going to hopefully operate, is you're going to accept the summary that he gives, but you're going to produce a letter with some points additional to his summary that are going to help fill in the gaps that his summary is proposing. The structure and form and style is a statement of origin. It's your venue, your jurisdiction, your rules, and your finite immutability of that said jurisdiction. That's what your points are going to be constructed on. It's going to show that your structure and form and style is paramount, superior, by a statement of origin, proving your venue of your body that gives you jurisdiction to follow the rules that are already fine and can no longer be defined. As it is written, so shall it be. What is done is what ought to be done. And that is immutable of that jurisdiction. You're going to request a review of the admitted facts and additional patent facts, open, observable facts. The case says this, but the truths observed say this. Admitted facts by and of the capacity, in his capacity of officer, he observed what he described in his summary. He observed what is subscribed by his training, while I was in my natural capacity, causing no harm. That's going to be your basic concept that you want to convey in your writings. He observed what is subscribed by his training, while I was in my natural capacity, causing no harm from what I observe inherently. Exceptions by and of the ancient documents. This is why I say he subscribed by his training while I was in my natural capacity, causing no harm according to the scripture, which means it was prescribed already before they could subscribe it. Everything they write is a subscription of what was already prescribed according to the scripture. Due to superior capacity of the status of the scriptures over his status of what he subscribed to. Withstanding, due to superior capacity of status, withstanding, with order, means command. Come is with, mand is order. Withstanding command. The officer has brought a claim upon which relief cannot be granted. Why? Because if they grant him relief, it proves that he broke a command of what was prescribed in the scriptures by subscribing to what he wrote about in his summary, which is only according to his training. In closing, as holder in due course of all entitlements of intended beneficiary of the public trust, I am first the true beneficial heir. Okay? To explain this further, I don't know how we got there. Yeah, that's not where I wanted to go there. Hold on here, folks. I don't know how I got off my page there, but I have to find it. Okay, here's a case I wrote up. And this is just in regards to simple credit collections. Demand to dismiss, cross libel, and brief in support of. Controlling throughout, mistakes are forgiven. Rule of law is substance and not form. And to best help sustain the state's budget. So we're in agreement with trying to make this expeditious here. We're going to help sustain the state's budget. There are a sum of 2 cases combined in this cross libel, which both cross libels are for the 2 cases brought by the above-mentioned wrongdoers, named as plaintiff in the same capacities in both cases. Proper venue, proper form of cross libel. This is talking about the venue and the form. Cross action. Savings to suitors clause. You notice it's pointed out, point. And then we get on to consideration of non-maritime claims, point. Generally, point. Combining federal and state claims. And this is the way I wrote this up, and this is actually pretty simple, even though it looks kind of long. But this is our claim in rebuttal of what they're claiming through the credit collection. Wrongdoers Blitten Gaines, PC, and the acting in care of Portfolio Recovery Associates, LLC, with intent of seeking economic substance, have provided evidence with material misrepresentations of a claim against a vessel of the United States or a citizen thereof, and proving their plot to do so after request was made by the cross-libelant to validate stated debt through private communications with Portfolio Recovery Associates, LLC, and is thus a tortious act of personage against myself, the aggrieved. These people brought, after we asked for Portfolio Recovery LLC to respond in private against their accusation of a claim of a debt, we asked them to provide private validation, and instead they went to a public forum proper form of cross libel. They went to a public forum, and we're going to the private forum. We're going to take them into the private forum, but we've got to do it through the proper forum, and that is the public forum that they brought it in. Why? Because they brought the public into it. They didn't bring just one individual private man. They brought the public, the entire public, into it. So now we're going to go to that public. And we're going to announce to that public this claim right here. Wrongdoers Blitten Gaines in acting in care of Portfolio Recoveries with intent of seeking economic substance with material misrepresentations. The material misrepresentation is that they're still claiming a debt when a debt can be impossible. They are making a claim against they are making a claim of debt against the United States or a vessel of the United States by coming after the citizen as styled here. That is not Joyce. That is Joyce A. Schmidt. That is a citizen of the United States known by the all-capital letter used as a transmitting utility through the state. So it is federal removal from any state action to the federal government in a private right of action against the state in their public capacity in this small claims action. So we're going to take it to the federal government in private and let the federal government know that we, Joyce, is the grantor in all cases of any marketable title under her calling, which is named a name, which is given a name in any style. And that is a person in any commercial venue. Wrongdoers, Blitten Gaines, PC, as third-party intervener. They are interveners. They are calling themselves a debt collector. Whether they have a contract with Portfolio Recoveries Associates or not, that matters not. They are taking that private contract into a public venue and calling a debt against a United States citizen, which is a vessel of the United States. Therefore, they are claiming a debt against the United States. Not Joyce, but they are calling Joyce in her private capacity into a public venue to do so. They are making a claim against a private man for which there is no relief. The relief comes from the person. And the person is known as the payee. The man is the payor. We are requesting validation of the debt so we can make the correct payment, and they don't want to allow that. They are taking it into public and making a claim of debt. We want to pay it off. We want validation of the debt so we can pay it off in full. They don't want to do that. They conspired in that private contract to bring that private validation into public and did enjoin a third party, Wrongdoers, Blitten Gaines, PC, to present presumptions to a court of inferior jurisdiction rather than provide said validation. So, we will now bring the full record as near as may be forward. See USC 15 US Code 1692A definitions, 15 US Code 1692E false or misleading representations, 15 USC 1692G validation of debts, 15 USC 1692J furnishing certain deceptive forms. The certain deceptive forms is a simulated use of a legal system. When we punch in legal fiction right here at the top, and we see this here, LII, legal fiction, WEX. This is the Cornell site. Legal fiction, an assumption. One question we have to ask here: furnishing certain deceptive forms. When we're talking about furnishing certain deceptive forms, we're talking about the forms that they're presenting in a court case as a third-party intervener on behalf of the Portfolio Recovery Associates through a simulated legal process. Legal process. All we have to do is ask them if this is a legal process. Yes. They have to answer yes. It's a legal process. They're going to answer yes. This is a legal process. Great. Then we are, in fact, dealing with assumptions and presumptions. So let's cut all the bullshit and validate what you are presuming that I am assuming. Because I know better. And as you can see, the rest of this is quite lengthy in regards to a simple credit collection. But as you saw, we mentioned up there, and this is in Hotep Secondly, in the announcements. I don't know where it says here. But if we go to Hotep Secondly, we'll just back out of here. Like I said, if you just go to Hotep Secondly, the group, you'll see across the top, it has About, Discussion, Announcements. Click on Announcements, and just scroll down. There's all kinds of good information in here. And that's where you'll find this post. And notice that says demand. I should have put command. And I might fix that yet, but that's just a minor critical or minor non-critical thing there. But in my perfection or strive to perfect the law, I will probably change demand to command. With order. Command. With order to dismiss. Demand is away from an order. Just so you know that. But this is all very important in regards to construction of your documents. So when you people want to sit there and try to dismiss a simple ticket, realize they've got a lot of presumptions going, and you've got to remove those presumptions. You've got to show them how it's removable. You got to talk to them about it. Even though state court may have concurrent jurisdiction of action under that section, action originally filed in state court may, upon proper motion, be removed to federal court. And it is not necessary that usually required diversity of citizenship or amount in controversy qualifications be present. Why? Because we're not talking about values or anything. We're talking about equity here. We're talking about the forum, the venue. You want to keep talking about your legal process. We don't care about your legal process because, as we can show, the legal process is in regards to a legal fiction. The legal fiction is an assumption. So the legal fiction that we're talking about here is this Joyce Schmidt, who happens to be the citizen of the United States, which is a vessel of the United States. And they are the payee. The vessel is the transmitting utility known as the payee. Joyce herself is considered in law to be the payor, and by her voice alone can order, command to dismiss in support thereof. Mistakes are forgiven. This is biblical. Forgive me my trespasses as I forgive those who trespass against us. To best help sustain the state's budget, we're wanting to save our budget, sustain our budget too. So we in agreement want to help sustain the state's budget. We're going to let them know in peaceful language. We're going to construct our language peacefully. And let them know if there are a sum of two cases combined in this cross libel, And once we get done with our, when we get down through here, I want to show you also how I include Chapter 15 bankruptcy remedy here. So starting with the two cases, we're going to carry out and follow through with the bankruptcy showing the insolvency of the account. Bring forth the record in patent correctness. We are not the insolvent party. We are the creditor to the insolvent United States, who is writing up these legal fictions that have no remedy. So under Chapter 15 bankruptcy, which is a foreign bank, we're going to come in as a foreign bank in our private right as a merchant, with common law remedy of bankruptcy to correct the record under international model bankruptcy. See now, while we come in common law, we're going to remedy the bankruptcy to correct the record under model international bankruptcy rules, which are yet to be construed. So this is just a closure of those two accounts, but through an ancillary cross libel, we're going to include in that cross libel a continuation of this case for further relief, creation of remedy, merger of these two cases in an international model bankruptcy against the United States to correct the record that they are the ones operating in bankruptcy. They are the insolvent party. They are insolvent and operating that legal fiction that they created. And we are operating under foreign recognition in a private right, merging the ancillary cross-border cases under a certificate of receivership that we're going to create within for further remedy, creation of remedy, or further relief, creation of remedy. And this is a cooperation of the United States under that international model bankruptcy to do a forensic accounting as near as may be. And this is where the United States, the IRS is the trustee between the Department of the Treasury and the Social Security Administration of each state. Because that is the true transmitting utility that they're operating under this credit collection. Joyce A. Schmidt, all caps. Assignment of United States and state as co-trustee in receivership. Any debt instrument the United States or the states receives from now on, they are to be known that they are trustee under the grant of Joyce to continue operating that person, if they so wish, as trustees under full faith and credit. Both states, all states, and United States, so that no matter where Joyce may travel, any officer that wants to issue upon her a bill of attainder, that certificate of live birth authenticated under full faith and credit, she should be able to issue forth to anyone. And upon that acceptance, they receive in receivership to be co-trustees. And I believe you'll require a Form 4506A for the district court and a W-9s for the participants. You want to know their capacities in private corporate status, that they are, in fact, liable for the taxes against which they've made a claim of debt against the United States, the public trust. A private entity has made a claim against a public trust. Okay? And then we attach and incorporate herein, and as asseveration before the court, as a matter of questioning jurisdiction, which can be questioned at any time. We do so now as a matter of venue and jurisdiction. Your public venue is not our private venue. You want to address us? You have addressed us in the wrong venue. Period. Right from the start. You've addressed the person. You've addressed the United States citizen. You've addressed the United States. You haven't addressed Joyce, but yet you have drugged Joyce into that court venue under threats, duress, and coercion. Therefore, this court's subject matter jurisdiction is under scrutiny as well. I, Joyce Minaj Schmidt, present specially in matters concerning the defendant named in the documents, instruments within your private administrative agency, to bring to light my knowledge and passing of this knowledge to yourself and this court. So the truth of these matters and matters concerning myself and my persons are discerned correctly for security reasons, to the effect that the record reflects as near as may be. We asseverate the communication in no way waives our special jurisdictional standing in equity at any time. Period. Please be aware, the matters before your court do cause us loss, harm, and duress. Misrepresentation is misrepresentation. We can prove there is misrepresentation, and any further acts against my objection without first taking notice and knowledge of the facts that we provide that prove such misrepresentation would then surely constitute intrinsic fraud, constructive fraud, mail fraud, etc. Validation of these supposed debts must be brought forth first for this court to act with proper jurisdiction. That's why we're going to ask for that forensic accounting, because even though we do this correction ourselves in this credit collection, they will not bring forth the full accounting. They will only bring forth enough accounting to correct these two collection cases that we have mentioned in that section 10. That's why we included further relief and creation of remedy, because that their correction in those two collection cases is not full remedy and cure. So we're going to extend ourselves and must be brought forth for this court to act with proper jurisdiction. So we are going to be the party bringing forth in equity, with clean hands, a full record, so that we can give the court jurisdiction in equity through the further remedy or further creation of remedy, or further relief and creation of remedy. Please forgive us if we are mistaken, but our information says, you know the law, and one of those laws says, the authorized representative giving an unambiguous authorized signature on the instrument is not liable for the person named in the instrument. Another law you should be well aware of, since this is a securities matter, is the one that states the existence of a security interest, agricultural lien, or authority given to a debtor to dispose or use collateral without more. The authority that is giving a debtor to dispose or use collateral without more. The only collateral their authority can grant is zero. They're authorizing the use of a monetary system of debt instruments and other securities known as obligations or other securities of the United States. So any authority they grant in regards to those interests is zero, without more. However, does not subject a secured party to liability in contract or tort for the debtor's acts or omissions. Again, that debtor is the person, Joyce A. Schmidt. They gave the authority to the debtor, and we are the authorized signatory. As authorized signatory, we are the payor for the debtor, the payee. The debtor is the payee. We are the payor. Distinct difference. That's why it says the authorized representative giving an unambiguous authorized signature on the instrument is not liable for the person named in the instrument. When they give you a credit collection, the person is already named in the ink, in the wording, and that is by the style. When you sign on that same instrument where that person is already named, that is not the same person. That is the authorized representative giving an unambiguous authorized signature. So again, the existence of a security interest, agriculture lien, or authority given to a debtor to dispose of or use collateral without more does not subject a secured party to liability in contract. These guys are not, the state in the United States are not a secured party because they have no security interest based upon the zero intrinsic value of the authority that they give to the instruments that you're using, that you're authorized to use. The actual security interest comes from the actual value that they're basing those debt instruments and securities on, and that is your very signature. You are the one that is granting them the use of the person in the instrument. Without that, they can't use that person. Thereby you prove you are the grantor. The person is supposed to be the trustee. How do you activate that trustee? And of course, we're most certain you are aware of the one that clarifies location of the debtor. H, location of the United States. The United States is located in the District of Columbia. Are you sure you wish to represent that Joyce is the obligated and liable person known as the debtor, defendant? We question the fictional plaintiff's privilege. Fictional plaintiff is the legal fiction. The plaintiff itself is an assumption. If you assume that there is a plaintiff in that case, you are doing it wrong. The legal fiction, the legal state of state is an assumption that they presume you will accept. If you are going to accept that presumption, you have to point it out. Fictional plaintiff's privilege of asserting jurisdiction and standing to file suit in that Joyce herself has not been notified by the U.S. Department of State. Why? Because they haven't notified the correct debtor. They haven't notified the debtor, the United States, that they have made a claim against the United States. Instead, they are making the claim to the person or to the location of Joyce through the person. We're not accepting that. We're letting them know. You mailed this to the wrong location. Of a valid complaint made against her person, which said, or which she has an inherent right to be secure in. And this is relative to that document where she's signing an authorized signature. And she's not liable for the person named in the instrument. Why? Because the person named in the instrument is the debtor, and the location of the debtor is the District of Columbia. What don't you people get about this? Why are you sending it to this address? Aren't you supposed to notify the U.S. Department of State? And then the U.S. Department of State, as trustee, is supposed to notice the beneficiary or the grantor. Her person, which she has a right to be secure in, the dual citizenship of the state and the United States citizen. They are the co-trustee involved in the said civil suit. The state citizen, or the state plaintiff, as state, is making a claim against the state citizen. That's inherently wrong. They're one and the same. They're co-trustees of the Sedicate Trust, known as the Public Charitable Trust. This leads us to believe that they may not have been notified by the plaintiff as of yet. Of course they haven't. That's why we're going to notice them. That's why we did the federal question, federal removal. We're going to remove it from the state and notify the debtor. That's cause for federal removal because they made a claim against the United States. We're going to note it. We're going to rat them out. We're going to tell on them, as it is a requirement in order for jurisdiction issues to be conferred to this court. In order for the state to make a claim against a state citizen or a United States citizen, they have to contact the United States District of Columbia. They are the owners of the district court. If they bring a claim in their district court under the Black Hawk County, they have to contact the District of Columbia, the debtor, the United States, and let them know they are bringing a suit against a dual citizen, United States citizen, state citizen, in a claim of debt. As plaintiff. And so they're supposed to notify the United States District Court that they are bringing a claim in the state district court, in the county district, or through the county district court. Along with this suspicion, we are led to believe as well that the fictional plaintiff has failed to provide proof that the defendant is in fact a corporate entity of a corporate body. That the legal fiction, the defendant is a legal fiction. Along with this suspicion, we are led to believe as well that the fictional plaintiff has failed to provide proof that the defendant is in fact another legal fiction. They are bringing a presumption of the court that Joyce herself is the legal fiction. They can't do that. They have presented to the court that the body, the corporate body, as the defendant, Joyce A. Schmidt, is one and the same as the woman that they are trying to force into court, into their fictional legal process. Meaning they have thus far failed to correctly and truly identify the defendant, as they imply the corporate person to be Joyce herself, when that is understood not to be true. This is a must in all contracts and is a fatality to standing to file suit if not proven. This is see USC 22 USC 393.2, and I believe that's supposed to be CFR. Let me double check real quick. Yes, that is 22 CFR, Notice of Suit or Default Judgment. That's where the state is supposed to notify the United States of a corporate default judgment in reference to the legal entity, the legal fiction that they are serving in their legal process. But they are serving Joyce and saying she is the trustee when she in fact is not the trustee. She is in fact the beneficiary, the grantor by the signature. So I need to correct that. That is supposed to be CFR. All parties must be identified and identifiable with complete correctness. Further, false facts are set forth for all commercial transactions in the Uniform Commercial Code, stating that if a representative signs the name of the representative to an instrument and the signature is an authorized signature of the represented person, the following rules apply. If the form of the signature shows unambiguously that the signature is made on behalf of the representative person who is identified in the instrument, the person can never sign. The person must always have a man or a woman place a signature on the document or the instrument. So it will always show by a wet ink signature if the form of the signature shows unambiguously that the signature is made on behalf of the represented person who is identified in the instrument. The representative is not liable on the instrument. This is paramount to why the electronic signature is not valid. No electronic signature is valid for form because it has ambiguity. It can never show unambiguously because anybody can get behind a keyboard and type in an electronic signature agreement without a wet ink signature on the instrument. Pure and simple. It is also known that all signatures by Americans on instruments of persons are authorized by and through the Social Security Administration for all instruments are actually securities of a state for import, export, and entrepot of national importance. Please be aware that by enjoining in the securities fraud before this court, your court is an active participant that proves negligence in knowing the fact that personal jurisdiction has not been and cannot be proven by the plaintiff in original false claim. The original financing statements and documents directly related to Joyce A. Schmidt can only be had by Joyce herself as holder in due course. In other words, only Joyce may have and hold them as they are private and only for viewing under proper securities procedures as a matter of national importance. This is a fatality to plaintiff's claim of personal jurisdiction that they then conveyed to the court, whom is to verify this fact and not presume. See, when we start talking about personal jurisdiction, we're talking about a lawful matter that cannot be presumed. The presence of the body cures the error in the name. Also be aware, we as private people, the aggrieved, tried to communicate or to come to terms with wrongdoers. Portfolio Recovery Associates LLC, by asking for validation of said debt by private means, and they instead went to a third party. This shows dishonor, as there is no validation to the debt, but rather a misrepresentation by a third party as a presumption. Done in good faith, given with patent right, expressly, Joyce Minaj Schmidt. And then we go on to jurisprudence. In general, it is essential to identify parties to court actions properly. If alleged parties to an action are not precisely identified, then who is involved with whom or what and how? If not properly identified, all corresponding judgments are void. As outlined in Volume 46, American Jurisprudence, second at Judgments. People, it's already judged. It's already been judged. As it's written, so shall it be. What is done is what ought be done. There is nothing new under the sun. At Section 100, Parties. A judgment should identify the parties for and against whom it is rendered, with such certainty that it may be readily enforced. That it may be readily enforced. And a judgment which does not do so may be regarded as void for uncertainty. So merely by placing in, on, and for the record the uncertainty of facts, by clarifying that Joyce A. Schmidt is not the one and same, Joyce Ann, full colon stop, Minaj Schmidt. Such identification may be achieved by naming the person for and against whom the judgment is rendered. Both the parties for whom, for and against, the judgment is rendered is a legal fiction. For nowhere in any of their codes of legal fiction will they ever, or have they ever, named the man. Never. Technical deficiencies in the naming of the person for and against whom judgment is rendered can be corrected if the parties are not prejudiced. By bringing any claim against a live man by use of a legal fiction, it is already prejudiced. In, on, and for the face of the record, because, like I said, a judgment should identify the parties for and against whom it is rendered with such certainty that it may be readily enforced. So, when they refuse to accept the identity of Joyce A. Schmidt, we have to clarify in our documentation exactly who Joyce A. Schmidt is. And that's what we did earlier, as I expressed. The state is the trustee. Joyce A. Schmidt is the beneficiary. She is the debtor, named in the paper as person, but Joyce A. or Joyce Ann as the woman is the live being in body, the The presence of the body cures the error in the name. In the name, in the paper, in the instrument. Because she gives the signature, the authorized signature of the authorized representative on the document, on the paper, on the instrument. Clearly, distinctly different. Such identification may be achieved by naming the person for and against whom the judgment is rendered. So, we identified them because they refused to. Technical deficiencies in the naming of persons for and against whom the judgment is rendered can be corrected if the parties are not prejudiced. So, if they refuse to correct the name, then that proves they are prejudiced. Period. A reference in a judgment to a party liable, followed by an omission of that party's name from the language of the decree, at least gives rise to an ambiguity and calling for an inquiry into the court's real intention, as reflected in the entire record and surrounding circumstances, and they, like I said, will admit that they are performing a legal process by using legal fictions, which is an assumption. Pure and simple. I think I've made this long enough. That's the basics of construction. You have to be able to see what they're putting at you and say, well, point for point for point for point. Here we go. We've got your letter, and according to your letter, okay, we're going to write another letter. And we're going to accept your facts, but in accepting those facts, we're going to include, well, we see by your fact here this point, we rebut with this point. We see by your fact with this point, we're going to rebut with this point. We see by your fact with this point, we're going to rebut with this point. Now that we've stated the corrections in on and for the record, you have to recognize them according to this, this, and this, because this is what's already observed. Pure and simple. So I hope you guys catch on to that when you're writing this stuff and trying to portray it in these courts. If you can't do it verbally and you want to write it down, you have to be able to construct it in a readable, comprehensive way. You can't just sit there and strew out a bunch of babble. Well, he did this, this, and this, and I have a right to travel. You have to be able to explain where your right to travel comes from and explain the difference. Well, he gave me a traffic citation, which, of course, is defined as commerce is synonymous with, or commerce is transportation, traffic, and trade, according to the legislation here. But that's a subscription to what was already prescribed in the Bible through ancient writings. And that says here, Psalms 121 verse 8, the Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and forevermore. So, I'm sorry, but I don't see what you've got with me traveling from here, point A to point B. Well, we've got to give you this citation. Well, okay, I'll take the citation, but realize that if I take the citation and sign in my capacity as the grantor, I'm going to grant you to issue this instrument in this court. You feel free to do what you want, but I'm going to come back at you as grantor and rebut all the lies that you're trying to strew out here. You're trying to lie and say that I'm in traffic. I'm not. Traffic is a public venue, and according to the traffic laws, I have to be subjected to it through a contract. Well, let's see the contract. Where did I sign the contract? Everything's going to come back to an obligation or other security of the United States. So every time they make a claim against that, they're actually, and this is proven because that citation, they want a fine, fee, or penalty. They're going to come at you for a commercial obligation, a commercial item. A commercial item is an obligation or other security of the United States. It's an economic substance. It's a Federal Reserve note. It's a tax. It's a levy. You have to be able to explain this. If you don't know how they're constructing their stuff by reading it and going through it point by point, you're never going to get this. You have to be able to read through their stuff and summarize it yourself. And then hit point for point for point. And then, in conclusion, the results are this. The observable results are this. Do you agree? I mean, if you don't agree with what's observable and you're going to deny it, then that shows your prejudice, because I can show this private document into the public forum and show you that it's already there. It's already there. I'm telling you, I'm not liable on that instrument. It says so right there. I'm the one that gave the wet ink signature on the instrument for the person named in the instrument. This is very clear language. And it's simple to rebut. But anyway, I've gone on long enough with this. I'm going to come back with another video here in a little bit on purchase. I don't know how long it'll be. Might not be until later on tonight, late tonight, or even tomorrow. But the next video I'm going to do is going to be on purchase. I'm going to break that down in regards to PUR, P-U-R, P-E-R, PAR as in P-A-R, which is one of the parties. You know, as we're talking party, well, what's the par value then? You know, if I'm a part of this, then what's my partial value? What value do I have in this? Where's the equal consideration? Your Federal Reserve notes have zero value, and if that's the part you're taking in, you want me to take part in zero. I'm sorry, I don't see a zero in this. I see a whole, and I'm part of that whole. And if you're part of that whole, then what is in fact the whole? It can't be zero. Think about it. So anyway, I'll come back with a video on that later. And in the meantime, I'll post my other forum links. And again, I'm going to post my PayPal link. I hope somebody will hit that share button and share some love. But in the meantime, like I say, with or without it, I'm going to keep doing this. I hope you'll at least keep sharing the information, the videos, and the other forums, so other people can research it and discern and ascertain for themselves what it all means. And how, again, I advise you to learn how to construct the language when you write it, so you can learn how to actually construct it when you speak it. Think about this stuff, and remember, folks, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing this. God bless. Love you. Have a great night.